Welcome, and thank you for being here. My name is Terrence Walton. This personal leadership manifesto is a reflective synthesis of who I am as a leader, drawing from theoretical foundations, professional experiences, and aspirational goals shaped throughout my graduate studies. We live in a digital age that demands adaptive, ethical, and human-centered leadership. Today, I will be presenting the core values, principles, and leadership commitments that define my approach and vision for leading with purpose and impact. Introduction. Leadership in the digital age is characterized by rapid change, technological integration, and the increasing complexity of diverse learning environments. As such, leaders must not only adapt but must do so with intention, grounded in reflection and ethics. This leadership manifesto is a comprehensive reflection of my personal journey, shaped by academic theories, professional experiences, and aspirations for inclusive and impactful leadership. I draw heavily from innovation and empathy-driven leadership frameworks, particularly learner-centered models, as emphasized by Akin, 2022, who advocates for aligning traditional leadership approaches with modern pedagogical practices. Through this document, I aim to bridge theory with practice, highlighting how graduate-level coursework has influenced my evolving philosophy and leadership style. My core objective is to translate instructional leadership principles into inclusive, human-centered applications that foster growth, equity, and innovation. This reflection offers not only insight into my current leadership stance, but also my commitment to continuous ethical development. My leadership philosophy. My leadership philosophy is deeply rooted in the belief that leadership is a moral responsibility centered on service, empathy, and trust. I view leadership as a relational process, not a hierarchical position. Drawing from servant leadership theory, I prioritize the needs of others, especially those I serve and collaborate with. Servant leadership emphasizes the importance of humility, listening, and empowering followers principles that resonate with my lived experiences. I also integrate transformational leadership, which focuses on inspiring and motivating others toward shared goals and meaningful change. Deng et al. Is 2022. These approaches guide how I cultivate trust, communicate vision, and build collaborative learning environments. I believe that effective leadership requires continual self-awareness, ethical integrity, and alignment between values and actions. By leading through influence rather than authority, I aim to foster environments where individuals feel valued, supported, and empowered to grow. Leadership, in my view, is about uplifting others through shared purpose and mutual respect. Core values that drive my leadership. The foundation of my leadership rests upon 5 interdependent core values: integrity, empathy, innovation, inclusion, and a growth mindset. Integrity is non-negotiable. It ensures that my actions align with my ethical standards and reinforces trust among those I lead. Empathy allows me to genuinely understand others' experiences, particularly in diverse educational and organizational settings. Innovation drives my desire for continuous improvement and creativity in problem solving, especially when addressing instructional and technological challenges. Inclusion, as discussed by Jamida and Lee, 2020, is not simply about diversity, but about ensuring every voice is heard and valued within decision-making processes. Lastly, a growth mindset, popularized by Carol Dweck, encourages adaptability and resilience, enabling me to embrace challenges and learn from setbacks. These values guide both strategic decisions and interpersonal interactions, shaping an environment where learning and leadership flourish. By aligning my daily practice with these values, I create spaces that are equitable, forward-thinking, and purpose-driven. Leadership style and attributes. My dominant leadership style is democratic, supported by visionary and coaching approaches. I believe in shared governance and transparency, key characteristics of democratic leadership. In practice, this means involving team members in decisions, valuing their input, and fostering mutual accountability. Visionary leadership allows me to articulate a compelling future and align teams toward long-term goals, while coaching enables me to nurture talent, build capacity, and encourage individual growth. Emotional intelligence is central to how I lead. Recognizing and managing my emotions and those of others allows me to navigate complex interpersonal dynamics, particularly during change or conflict. Leadership assessments and feedback from peers have confirmed that I perform well in collaborative settings where innovation and strategic thinking are valued. I strive to maintain a balance between structure and flexibility, which is critical for responding to emerging needs. Overall, my style prioritizes engagement, development, and the collective advancement of the team or organization. Leaders who inspire my development. My leadership identity has been deeply influenced by a variety of individuals whose philosophies align with values-based, service-oriented leadership. One of the most significant influences is Howard Bihar, former Starbucks executive, whose focus on people over profit resonates strongly with my commitment to ethical and inclusive leadership. His belief that the person who sweeps the floor should choose the broom reflects the empowerment and trust I strive to cultivate in teams. Additionally, my parents modeled resilience, compassion, and accountability, foundational traits that continue to guide my decisions. Thought leaders such as Simon Sinek have inspired my pursuit of purpose-driven leadership, emphasizing the why behind every action. Furthermore, mentors and educators throughout my academic journey have challenged me to reflect critically, leading to profound professional and personal growth. I am especially inspired by leaders who practice humility and listen more than they speak, those who view leadership as a platform for serving others, not themselves. Insights from reflecting on failure. One of the most pivotal moments in my leadership development came from a failure, my reluctance to delegate during a critical instructional design project. At the time, I believed that maintaining control would ensure quality. However, this decision inadvertently limited team collaboration and innovation. Through structured reflection and feedback from peers and mentors, I realized that trust is foundational to leadership, and delegation is one of its most powerful expressions. Inspired by Stanford's failure resume concept, I now treat setbacks as opportunities for growth rather than threats to competence. This failure shifted my mindset. I no longer equate control with effectiveness. I've since embraced distributed leadership models and actively foster psychological safety in teams to encourage experimentation and learning. Mistakes are now embedded in my reflective practice, serving as guideposts for improvement. Effective leadership, especially in education and technology, requires openness to failure as a pathway to resilience, innovation, and relational trust. Leadership in technology, rich environments. Leading in technology-rich environments requires a commitment to equity, foresight, and intentional design. Technology alone does not guarantee learning. It must be thoughtfully integrated with pedagogical purpose and accessibility standards. My leadership approach emphasizes the use of WCAG, Web Content Accessibility Guidelines, and Universal Design for Learning, UDL, to ensure digital inclusion. I believe that every instructional leader has a responsibility to eliminate barriers and foster equitable access to content, particularly for students with disabilities or limited access to resources. Moreover, I advocate for ethical data use, transparency in learning analytics, and inclusive design that reflects the diversity of learners. Technology should serve as a bridge, not a barrier. In practice, this means involving diverse stakeholders in the design process, staying informed on tech trends, and aligning tools with learning outcomes. Ultimately, I strive to lead with ethical intention, ensuring that innovation supports not only performance, but also dignity, agency, and belonging. Integration of coursework into leadership practice. My graduate coursework has played a transformative role in shaping my leadership identity and practice. Across multiple courses, I have developed a deeper understanding of how ethical data usage, learner analytics, and reflective decision-making impact instructional leadership. In particular, Reiser and Dempsey, 2018, emphasized the critical role of visionary planning and strategic professional development concepts I've integrated into my leadership toolkit. I now approach professional learning as an essential leadership function, not an optional activity. Coursework on change management helped me develop adaptive strategies and anticipate resistance, particularly when implementing new technologies or instructional models. Each course has added nuance to my understanding of leadership theory and its practical application, reinforcing the importance of inclusive, data-informed, and participatory approaches. I now lead with greater confidence and clarity, always grounding decisions in evidence, empathy, and equity. My academic learning has been instrumental in evolving my leadership from reactive to strategic and from task-based to transformative. Mapping my leadership journey. Reflecting on my leadership journey, I recognize a clear evolution from efficiency-focused task management to a more inclusive, reflective, and strategic style. In my early roles, I prioritized deliverables and timelines. Success was measured by completion. However, over time, I came to understand that true leadership is about cultivating people, not just outcomes. I have since embraced collaborative leadership, focusing on team empowerment, psychological safety, and shared success. Currently, I serve in mentorship roles, lead complex instructional projects, and advocate for inclusive practices in design and delivery. My journey is marked by intentional self-evaluation, feedback incorporation, and alignment of actions with core values. In the future, I envision taking on institutional leadership positions where I can shape policy and drive innovation at scale. This trajectory reflects not just career advancement, but a deepening commitment to ethical leadership. My path continues to be guided by curiosity, purpose, and a desire to serve with integrity. Leadership development goals. Leadership development is a continuous, intentional process. One of my primary goals is to enhance my delegation and distributed leadership capabilities, building on lessons learned from past challenges. I also aim to strengthen my cross-cultural communication skills and embed diversity, equity, and inclusion, DEI principles, more deeply into my practice. These competencies are essential for fostering belonging and trust in diverse learning environments. I plan to engage more actively in professional communities like ICE-T, International Society for Technology and Education, and AECT, Association for Educational Communications and Technology, to stay informed, network with thought leaders, and contribute to the field. Tools such as reflection journals and 360-degree feedback mechanisms, as recommended by Leiden et al., 2024, will guide my growth and accountability. I will apply the SMART Goals framework, ensuring my development is specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. These efforts are not just for personal advancement, but to enhance my impact as a leader. Leadership theories that inform my practice. The leadership theories that most inform my practice serve as both philosophical foundations and operational frameworks. Integrity and empathy, cornerstones of servant leadership, influence how I build trust, listen deeply, and prioritize others' needs. Innovation, drawn from transformational leadership, propels my commitment to change-oriented practices that uplift systems and people. Inclusion is central to my leadership identity. It reflects democratic and culturally responsive leadership models that value shared power and voice. Finally, my belief in a growth mindset, informed by Dweck's research, empowers me to see challenges as opportunities and to model resilience for others. These values and theories are not theoretical abstractions. They actively inform how I lead daily, whether navigating conflict, mentoring team members, or designing instructional solutions. The integration of these frameworks allows me to lead with both heart and strategy, ensuring that my leadership remains both principled and adaptive in a rapidly changing educational landscape. Leading through disruption and innovation. We live in an era of ongoing disruption, technological, social, and pedagogical, which demands leadership that is agile, ethical, and future-focused. Instructional leaders must not only respond to change, but proactively design for it. My approach is to view disruption not as a threat, but as an opportunity to reimagine outdated systems and innovate with purpose. As Jarl 2024 highlights, effective leadership in learning organizations must center both learner autonomy and accessibility. I integrate this by anticipating evolving learner needs, evaluating emerging tools, and fostering a culture of experimentation. At the same time, innovation must remain human-centered. It must prioritize equity, dignity, and inclusion. This balance is where leadership has the power to transform through intentional design, ethical foresight, and relentless commitment to impact. I lead by embracing change, challenging convention, and continually asking, how can we make this more accessible, more engaging, and more equitable for every learner we serve? Final reflections. Therefore, for the final reflections, I want to conclude that leadership is not a static role. It is a lifelong journey grounded in reflection, learning, and purposeful action. This manifesto represents more than a summary of my values. It is a declaration of my commitment to ethical, learner-centered, and inclusive leadership. My approach is shaped by academic theory and real-world experience, each informing the other in a dynamic feedback loop. I view leadership as an opportunity to empower others, design for social impact, and foster environments where equity, innovation, and learning thrive. As I continue my journey, I aim to lead with integrity, humility, and vision, recognizing that the real power of leadership lies not in control, but in cultivating collective purpose. In the end, my leadership is about people and impact, not titles or hierarchy. As I move forward, I do so with the conviction that leadership, when done with authenticity and intention, has the power to transform lives and systems. Thank you.